Welcome and good morning. Welcome to It's Still Called Today, and it's my simple YouTube channel for encouraging people and trying to give some encouragement for you guys to read your Bibles and stuff. And this happened to me about 2 weeks ago, and I've just been putting this off because I don't know. Teaching makes me nervous, and it should make you nervous, but I do have something to share today. You have to forgive me, I'm drinking coffee this morning. This is the day after watching Charlie Kirk lose his life. And about 2 weeks ago, I was scrolling through social media and I heard a lady use a phrase that I've never heard. She said, and I quote, "I have radical acceptance of the things that God has for me." And I thought it was an interesting statement. I kind of filed it away in my brain under, what an interesting thing to say. I don't know if I feel that way about some of the things that I've been through personally. And at the time, I was reading through Genesis, and I had just begun Genesis chapter 37, and that's where we talk about the story of Joseph. And as I was reading the story of Joseph, after he shared his dream, his brothers were really upset with him, and so was his father. The first thing that happens is they were planning to kill him. But one of the brothers, I believe it was Reuben, I don't remember which one it was, but one of them said, "No, let's don't do that. Let's just put him in a pit." And they slaughtered a goat and made it look like he had been killed. And they decided, well, they took him out of the pit and they sold him into Egypt. They sold him into slavery, which was a horrific thing to do to anybody back then. So in order to help pull the wool over their father's eyes, over Jacob's eyes, they slaughtered a male goat. The Bible is specific. It says they slaughtered a male goat and dipped his coat in it and made it look like he'd been savaged. Then the story goes on when he got sent to Egypt, when he got sold to Egypt, that he ended up with a pretty cool gig working at an official's house. His name was Potiphar, and I think he was there for maybe a year or so, maybe two. I'm not sure what the timeline is, but it's irrelevant. But he was there for a while, and he was doing great until Mrs. Potiphar thought he was quite hunky and decided to, approach him and say, "Hey, babe, sleep with me. You're pretty hot." And he fled the house. He took off his garment. He fled without even having his clothes on. And for doing what was righteous, he suffered, and he was put in prison for the next 2 years. Then he interpreted a dream for the baker. And then he interpreted a dream for Pharaoh. And he explained to Pharaoh what was going to happen. He explained to Pharaoh that the dream that he had was about 7 lean years that were coming to Egypt, and gave him advice on what to do. Well, so this winds us up in... Hang on. I knew I would find a way to use this giant ESV. This thing is big, but I kind of like it, especially for stuff like this. In Genesis chapter 45, verse 4, we read the following, and this was after his brothers had come to him, not knowing it was him. Now, granted, let's back up for just a second. These are the same folks that put him in a cave, or in a cistern, actually. It wasn't just a pit, it was a cistern. And then sat down and had lunch. You don't, I mean, there's got to be some serious animosity if you're going to put a family member in harm's way and then you casually sit down and have a sandwich. I mean, these guys had been stewing for a long time over this. But as I was reading in Genesis chapter 45, verse 4, it says this. So Joseph, and this is after they had come to him, this is the second time they had come back. And it says, so Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, please. And they came near. And he said, I am your brother, Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. Because you sold me here. For God sent me before, for God sent me before you to preserve life. I think it's absolutely amazing that Joseph had this attitude despite all the things that happened to him. Despite that it was his own family that put him in this situation. Despite the unfair treatment he got from Potiphar and the unjust things that Potiphar did to him, I have not exhibited these hallmarks in my life through the unfair things that I have gone through. Most of us, I don't think, have. But that's what that lady meant by radical acceptance for the things that God has for me. Now, there are things out of our control that we have no, we can't do anything about it. There are things in our control that we can do something about and handle something the right way, but not many of us do that either. So it's a combination of things outside our circumstance and things inside our circumstance. But Joseph had things happen outside of his circumstance. But if you ask me, what we read here in Genesis chapter 45, verse 4, is someone who had radical acceptance of what God had for him. And that's the kind of person I want to be. I want to have radical acceptance of the things that God has for me. Even the things that I did wrong that He is in the process of redeeming. And God is in the process of redeeming the times that I spent angry over the loss of my wife. The times that I spent angry over losing the use of my right ankle and having to use a walker to get around. God can redeem the actions outside of our control, and He can redeem the actions inside of our control. But we first have to have radical acceptance of the things that God has for us, because we can't see where we're going. He can. Anyway, let me know what you thought. This just had a big impact on me, and I've been mulling this over for quite some time. It's important that we trust God in the process, because we're not always going to like the process. Anyway, God bless you guys. Let me know what you think. And like I said, I knew I'd find a use for this big old ESV. This thing is huge. God bless you guys. I'll try to have some more content coming up when I feel like I've got something to say. But anyway, encourage each other daily, as long as it is called today. And don't let the deceitfulness of sin spring up a trap and defile many. God bless you guys. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Bye-bye.